Hi guys, today we're going to be making strawberry pie, and so I'm going to share with you a few secrets that I learned from my dad, who also made strawberry pie from scratch. Now I am going to vary it just a little bit today. I'm not really going to make my own crust. I just didn't feel like doing that today. So today we're going to just make the crust already prepared. We're going to roll that out. And then we are going to stick this in the oven at 450 degrees and bake our crust. Now, what I'm going to do is put just a little flour down on my rolling mat here. I've got this nice little rolling mat, and I got it on Amazon. And it really is great because things don't stick to it. And it's just such a nice surface to work with. So I'm just going to roll this out just a little bit to get all the rough edges out so that we can lay it into our pie shell. So we're going to try something new today. I cut out a piece of parchment paper, and once we get the pie crust in the pie dish, I'm going to put this on top and put some beans on the top of it, so that it doesn't cause any bubbles when we're cooking it. And I've never tried this, so we're going to try it together. But it's supposed to make the pie shell much easier to work with and not have any of those air bubbles in it, so that our strawberry pie comes out delicious. So I'm really excited to show that to you, and we'll get going on that right now. Now we are going to use a fork and poke some holes along the bottom and in the sides of the crust. That also helps it from bubbling. And anything we can get it to keep it from bubbling, we're really happy to do that. It's a lot of work making a pie, and the last thing you want to do is ruin it because you have bubbles in your pie crust. So we're going to try real hard to keep that from happening. So to push it down, I'm going to lower you just a little so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to push it down into my pie pan. I'm going to get a fork out here, and then I'm just going to poke the bottoms of the crust. I'm also going to poke along the sides. Anything to keep it from bubbling. There we go. And a little. Okay. Now we're going to pop this in the oven, and when it's finished we're going to let it cool a little bit, and then we'll be right back with you to show you. Oh, I almost forgot to share with you what we're doing with these beans. So we put the parchment paper in the raw pie shell after we've poked all the holes in the bottom of the pie shell. Then we put the parchment paper, and I put a bag of beans in here, and you can use any kind of beans that you'd like to use. You could use rice. But from what I understand, you can't really use these once you've used them as a weight in the oven. You can save them and use them again. But these beans I've had in the pantry for quite a while, so I don't really plan on using those. So we're going to go ahead with this and see how well that works out for us. And we'll be back to show you how well it comes out in just a few minutes. Bye. Okay, we're back. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you about how we're going to prepare our strawberries. Some people use the strawberries whole. I slice my strawberries, and the reason I slice the strawberries is because it gets, once we put the glaze over it, the glaze will get in there between all the little bite-sized pieces, and that is really going to be a lot more flavorful than if you just drop in big chunks of strawberries and you don't slice them up. And they're not real easy to eat that way. It's more difficult to cut the strawberry pie when they're just great big hunks of strawberries rather than having it sliced. So I'm going to go ahead and get these sliced up while we're waiting for the pie crust to cool. And then we'll show you what the next step is. We are going to make a glaze, and it's going to be a homemade glaze. We're not using Jell-O. The glaze we're going to make is homemade, and you're going to be really surprised at how easy it is. I think it's actually easier than using Jell-O. So we will be back once we get all of these sliced, and we'll show you how to make that glaze as well. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. So today, as we're making our strawberry pie, we're going to make a couple of little changes, and you can do it however you want to, but my mom is diabetic, so I'm going to be substituting the sugar for stevia today. And stevia is a natural sweetener, so of the sweeteners that are out there, that's probably one of the healthier ones for her. So I'm going to use stevia instead of sugar, but you definitely can make it with sugar because that is the original recipe. My dad, who grew up in North Carolina, he was really the person who enjoyed to cook in our family. My mom can cook, but my dad, it was more of a hobby and a pastime for him. He was one of those Southern cooks, so he's all about the biscuits and the gravy and mashed potatoes and gravy and homemade cream style corn, and we're going to show you how to do the homemade cream style corn here also coming up in one of our videos real soon. It's so easy to make, and it's so much better than the canned cream style corn. But anyway, off subject, I guess. This was one of the pies that my father grew up eating, and so we as kids had never had strawberry pie until my dad introduced us to it. Oh my goodness, and that was that. So every year during strawberry season, we would get strawberries, and Dad would make the strawberry pie, and we would be in absolute heaven. But he was adamant about making sure that we sliced those strawberries up so that you got bite-sized pieces instead of great big hunks of strawberry, because my sister and I would be wearing our strawberry pie if it wasn't in those bite-sized pieces. So that is kind of why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing. And it does bring back those memories and those fun times from when we were kids, and we used to enjoy the simple things. So the next thing that we'll do is we're going to start preparing our glaze, but we're not quite there yet. So we'll do that here in just a few minutes, and then we'll show you how it all gets put together and how easy that it really is. You can impress people with this pie, I'm telling you. So if you've never thought about making a strawberry pie, give it a try. It's super easy. The hardest part about it is really getting that pie crust in the oven. If you're going to make your own pie crust, that's awesome. I usually make my own pie crust and I use butter, and today I just didn't feel like it. And we just happened to have one of these pie crusts in the refrigerator, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use that, and then we'll go with that for today. But we'll be back and we will show you how to assemble the rest of the pie, and you're going to enjoy it, so stay tuned. Okay, we're back and we have our strawberries chopped, and they're going into our pie crust, which has cooled. And I used two 16-ounce containers of strawberries. I probably could have gotten a few more, but I guess that's going to be okay. So those are in our crust. Using those beans to keep the crust flat worked out pretty well. Just don't forget to cover the edges of your pie crust so they don't burn like I did. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and puree 1 cup of strawberries. This is what we're going to put in our glaze. We're going to smush these as much as we can with the immersion blender. Once we get these smushed up, then we're going to put this in a pan. Okay. So we have 1 cup of strawberries pureed. We're going to put that in our pan. And to that, we're going to add 1 cup of water. And it calls for a cup of sugar, but since we are going to be using the stevia instead of sugar, I'm going to be using 1/3 of a cup because we think that 1 cup is going to just make it way too sweet. So we're going to put 1/3 of a cup in there. And then we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And this is going to thicken it up. And you want to make sure that you're using cornstarch and not flour. Flour will cause it to lump up. And you definitely don't want that glaze lumpy. So the next thing we'll do is get a wire whisk. We're going to whisk that together and then we're going to heat that on the stove. Until it starts to get thick, and then we'll pour it over the pie crust. So hang on 1 second. I'll bring you with me so you can see what we're doing. Try not to make you seasick. Okay. So here's our pan. We're just going to whisk this really good so that we get that cornstarch dissolved in there before it starts to get hot. This cornstarch will kind of be a clear, of course you'll see the strawberry color, but because we're using cornstarch, that's going to thicken it and make it kind of a clear consistency. So once again, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're using cornstarch and not flour. Flour is going to turn out lumpy, so don't do that. So you want to keep an eye on this so that you don't burn it. And just keep stirring it. Adjust this screen a little bit here so you can see what I'm doing. You can see me and you can see this. This is what it looks like right now. And as it gets hot, it's going to thicken up. We have this on a medium-high setting. You don't want it to be on high, but you want it to start heating up where it comes to kind of a slow boil. And when it hits that point, it should be thick. And you'll be ready to take it off the burner and pour it over your pie. Now when I baked that, the pie crust, I was so interested in telling you about the parchment paper and putting the beans in there. I totally forgot to line the edges with foil so that I didn't burn my crust. So about 10 minutes into the oven process, I realized that, and I went in and pulled it out just in time, and I got the foil around the edges so that it didn't burn. So fortunately, I didn't burn my crust up. So just be really careful about that, because you do want the bottom to get done. And if you don't cover the edges of your crust, that'll be done before your pie shell is completely cooked all the way through. And you want to make sure you get a good brown on your crust for your pie shell. Ooh, this is starting to thicken up already. Ooh, it smells so good. It smells like fresh strawberries. Okay, and we are there. So this is what it looks like. The consistency is pretty thick. Okay, so back over to the pie crust we go, and we're going to start pouring this right over our crust. Let me get a spatula. This goes right over the top. And once we get this all on here, we're going to put it in the refrigerator so that it can cool. Once it's cool, then we're going to finish dressing it up with some whipped cream. And we'll be ready to serve. So it's probably going to have to sit in the refrigerator, I'd say about 2 hours, so that it's set up really well. And I'm just kind of poking in there a little bit so that this gets down into the strawberries. That really yummy strawberry goo. Okay. And as soon as it's cool, we'll come back and I'll show you the results of the strawberry pie. As you can see, we're having a little technical difficulty with our sound. The pie is set up and it's ready to go, so I'm just going to put some whipped cream on. I chose to use the spray can. You can use any kind you like. And we're going to put a little dollop in the center, dress it up with a strawberry, and we're ready to slice it. Please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video today. Thanks a lot, guys, for your time. Have a great day and enjoy some strawberry pie.